Hello everybody, welcome to my video. Today I want to walk you through the journey of my life from when I can remember when I was a baby till the man you see sitting in front of you today. Hopefully through this journey I can help motivate you through pain, pleasures, and what kept me moving forward in my life, and hopefully you'll find a lot of parts that you could relate to in your life that could really help you reach the next milestone. Or maybe you just get to know me a little better. So before getting into my story, people always ask me, what drives you to be motivated? What keeps you going forward? How is your mindset like stainless steel? How don't you let things affect you? How do you keep going? All these questions I keep getting. And through my training and my experience and my reading and my coaching, I found there's two major reasons for motivation, or discipline, or drive, because motivation is not even there every single day. The first thing is pain. You'll hear people say like, I never want to go back to being broke, or I remember how it felt to live in that house with no water, or I remember how it felt to work 60 hours a week, or I never want to go back to all that overtime. These are people that run from pain. They have the pain stored in the back of their mind and they don't want to go back to it. But there's also pleasure, and these are the people that say, I want to have the nice boat, I want to have the nice house, I want to have the nice cars, I want to be rich, I want to be financially free, I want to do what I want when I want. These are people that store in the forefront of their mind pleasure points, and they run towards that pleasure. And a lot of times humans run from pain or run towards pleasure. And I always tell people it's one thing to choose your pain or pleasure, or maybe even it's a little bit of both. You run from a little bit of pain, you run towards pleasure, you have them both stored in your mind. But what really separates the people that go all the way with this? What separates the people that are driven every single day when they wake up and they don't stop? I think it's how they keep it on the forefront of their mind. Because right now you could think of your pain or pleasure and say, okay, I got it, I'm thinking about it, this is what's going to drive me forward. But if tomorrow you wake up and there's a bunch of distractions, bad environment, things that take you away from driving towards your pleasure and driving away from your pain, it's going to fade out very quickly. So as I tell this story, hopefully I'm going to show you a couple of different ways where throughout my life I've kept these points inside of my head. I've primed my mind to these things, and it's become accustomed to my thought process. So let's jump straight into it. So yeah, I wasn't born in the States. I was actually born in Dubai. My dad was a branch manager of the banks. I don't remember too much, but I see pictures. He used to wear suits, be the head of the board in the conference tables, always be traveling, moving around money, all of this in Dubai. And before you know it, he left everything he knew down there, and he brought my family to the States for the opportunity for us. And when he brought us here, he said goodbye to his luxurious life, came to the United States without knowing any English at all, and his first pit stop here was working at a gas station night shift in a very bad area. Remember, it was like Joy Road and Greenfield, had a McDonald's in it, a lot of shootings, big bulletproof glass. Worked there night shift to start off here without knowing a lot of English. Mom was working at a factory as well, not knowing any English. That was my childhood growing up, not really having a place to stay, staying at families' houses. I was in Canada in the beginning, was a refugee in Canada, made it to the States, finally got my citizenship in the United States. We rented, ended up buying. We bought a house that we ended up losing in the 2008 crash with a short sale, went back to renting. So my childhood growing up, my parents worked very hard to support for me, and I believe that was the pain that I remember now. The pain was they sacrificed everything for us. The pain was not having a Christmas tree and presents on Christmas. The pain was, having to work at a young age to help. All these things were painful. And as I was growing up, I got into the entrepreneurial mindset very young. For example, my uncle used to go get fireworks, from Toledo when I was young. This is back when fireworks weren't sold everywhere on every single corner. They were barely sold. And I used to buy bulk fireworks, put them in my basement. And within a couple of years, people were lining up around the block to get fireworks from my house. So I was selling at a very young age and branding at a very young age. After that, I joined football and basketball at school, and I ended up quitting those sports to go at the gas station to help my pops out. At that point, he was owning a gas station instead of working at one, and I was trying to help him there. So I'd spend, half my time at school, half my time working. My friends that wanted to hang out would come by the gas station and hang out with me. That was our hangout spot. Instead of fully missing out on hanging out with friends, I would bring the friends to the gas station. And this is like a trend that kept going throughout my life. Whenever I wasn't able to do something, I would try to bring the party to myself. So anyways, working at the gas stations, I would notice that my shift would do a lot better at the gas stations than everybody else. The simple reason why is because I actually cared. It was my dad's business. I'd get to know customers' names. I would make friendships and relationships, and people kept coming back on my shift. And I think this was the first part of sales, making people like you, getting to know people, creating relationships, making them buy more stuff from you. That was a little bit of sales growing up. I was also a very hard worker. And yeah, you could say because it was my dad's gas station, but I also knew the hard work it took to operate a business. Because this gas station we ended up losing and it didn't do very well. But when I was at this gas station and any other job I got after it, I was a workaholic, meaning I would work every single second of the day. So like for example, at a gas station, if the shift is slow and nobody's coming in, usually your average worker will be watching Netflix on their laptop, on their phone, hanging out, sleeping on the chair. For me, I had a list of things to do. Fill the coolers, clean around the coffee, mop, sweep outside, spray down the glass, make an order of things. I always had a list of things to do during the dull time, so I was always working hard. And I passed that list to other people that worked there to make sure everyone was always working hard. But I tell you that because I think that followed me in the future as far as work ethic is concerned. I never ever wasted anybody's money or time. Any job I had or any role I had, I took it extremely serious because I knew what it takes to operate a business. I know how stressful it can be for bills. And I know the people that are leading these businesses also have dreams, why, pain, and pleasures that they're running from and running towards. And I hold a lot of respect and ethics for that. So as I'm working, going through high school, I had a big heartbreak in high school, which was my cousin, God rest his soul, Ali Saad, actually passed away. And he was like my best friend, and he passed away of cancer, and he fought it for 3 years. And I learned a lot through that experience. You know, I learned that whatever doesn't kill you only makes you stronger. That was something he had tattooed on his wrist. I learned how precious life is. He was such a strong guy. Even when he was going through chemo, he would still play tackle football. He didn't want to feel left out at all. He would still be involved in everything. He wanted to be treated normal, and that was very inspiring to see. And he was tough. He fought through it like a fucking warrior. And I'll never forget that. And that was kind of a tough transition for me as 15, 16 years old. And as I was getting older through that transition, you know, I started heading into trouble. When he passed away, we actually made kind of a gang called like Soldiers of Saad, it was SOS. And we started spray painting and fighting and doing all sorts of stupid stuff until one day, you know, we did the wrong things. Something blew up. Detectives got involved. There was court cases, a lot of money spent, probation, time, all these kind of things that were happening. And, you know, a lot of people snitched and the word got out. And that was like kind of like my first lesson, like, hey, this is not the way for you. It's not worth it. You got a lot more riding for you. So I learned quickly from that lesson. Then started partying, you know, on the weekends, working hard on the weekdays, trying to party on the weekends. DUIs, MIPs, things like that started happening. More fights started happening. One time I got my jaw busted and got sucker punched. Couldn't eat for like 3 months, wired shut. So I was getting into a lot of trouble those days and working at the same time. But I decided to make a change. I knew I was going down the wrong path. So instead of going to these parties and partying myself, I started throwing the parties. Where, you know, I was a pretty popular kid. The parties I went to, I didn't think were the best. So what I started doing was renting venues out, creating themes, making them entertaining, printing out flyers, MySpace back then, Facebook, just going around passing out flyers, putting them everywhere, spreading the word about these parties. And these parties ended up doing pretty well. We were making like 5,000, 10,000 sometimes, 15,000 sometimes on these parties. And again, I told you earlier that I used to want to bring the party to me instead of have to go to the party. And that's another example. I got to enjoy it and make money. Well, the first year I never made money or got to enjoy it because the first year I got trashed. And there was a big fight that broke out, and my whole front lobby that was collecting the money completely got ran over. And that's when I stopped drinking at my own parties. I learned that lesson. But it ended up being a money venue for me as well. So anyways, that was kind of my upbringing. Entrepreneurial, always trying to make money, working hard ethic, got into trouble, but kind of waved my way out of trouble because I knew it was the wrong path. Knew how precious life was and had that pain stored in my head of like, look, I know how hard my parents worked. I don't want to do that. I don't want my kids to have to face that. I want to be able to have a good life and the means of being able to go on family vacations and spend the holidays the right way and, you know, not having to work hard. I don't want my kids working that hard during high school or worrying about the bills or how they're going to help me out. So that was a lot of pain that was stuck in my head. And I tell you that because Maybe you have some pain from your childhood. And if you have that pain, it's one thing to think about it or suppress it, but it's another thing to take it and create it into gas and fuel and help it make you drive forward. And that's really the main goal, is you want to take that pain and make it drive you forward. So anyways, that was a lot of my upbringing. My brother was like in a wireless toy store back in the day. When you needed cell phone accessories, you would have to go to the cell phone accessory store to purchase them. And I'm talking back in the days when you had Nokia and Sony Ericsson phones, the flip phones. Maybe we got into Blackberries a little. Not these days. Nextel with a chirp. They went bankrupt and they shut down, and then we had a warehouse full of accessories, and that was like all of our money inside of there. And me and my brothers, sat down at a night at my mom's house and we thought, what could we do with all these accessories? Could we junk them? Could we auction them? Or could we make something happen with them? And we came up with this crazy idea. Let's sell cell phone accessory chargers to the gas stations. Now, I know when I tell you that now, you're probably thinking like, yeah, cell phone accessories are all over gas stations and stuff. I want you to think back to 2005. There was no cell phone chargers inside gas stations. They were only at cell phone stores. So we were actually bringing in this fresh new concept into the stores. So the first thing they had me do as a guinea pig was take my dad's Explorer, put a bunch of accessories in the trunk, put some metal displays. They printed me out a paper for MapQuest because there was no GPS at the time. And they set me off at like maybe 17, maybe 18 years old. They set me off in this truck to like 12 stores. And the first store told me, you're crazy. We don't sell cell phone chargers in gas stations. The second store said the owner's not here. A third store said F off, and so on and so forth. I'm on like an empty tank of gas, driving back home. It's dark outside. Call my brother, say this is bullshit. Didn't work. What a waste of time. Don't make me do this anymore. And on the way back, I stop at a store to fill up gas, grab a slice of pizza. And it just so happens the owner was inside, and he asked me, hey, what do you do? Because he seen my truck with like displays hanging out the window and stuff. I looked at him and I said, I have an option right now. What do I tell him? And I said, I sell cell phone chargers to gas stations like yours. He's like, really? Why don't you bring me a display? Let me check it out. I ended up bringing him a display for $1,000. And that was my first sale. And that sale was on the way home, feeling the regret and the disdain from the failure. Now, people know I always say everything in life connects. That's one of my lines that I say. And I want you to think about this for a second, because this story right here turned into a multi-million-dollar business. But imagine I never stopped there to get pizza. Or imagine I stopped there and I only filled gas. Or imagine I stopped at a different store. Or imagine the owner was taking a piss when I walked in and I didn't get to see him. I just want to tell you, imagine anything went different, a millisecond different. Would I even be here today talking to you? Because that story there led me to go home with a smile on my face and go the next day and make 5 accounts, then 10 accounts, then 15, then 20, then 50, then hire another driver. Now we're 2 drivers and we got 100 and 150. Now we're 4 drivers. Now we're 10 drivers. Now we're in East Michigan to West Michigan, West Michigan to Ohio, Ohio to Indiana, to Chicago, to Florida, to Cali, to China, to Australia, to Europe. 10-year journey taking this business from my dad's Explorer truck to a worldwide company. We got inside every single big hotel in Las Vegas. Think about that. And through that journey is where I really think I learned a lot of the sales. I mean, look, if you think sales is difficult, I always say the easiest thing to sell is cash and the easiest way to sell is on the phone. Well, vice versa, the hardest way to sell and the hardest people to sell to are nationalities like my own behind bulletproof glass at a gas station or liquor store. So I think doing that for 10 years primed my mind to take objections, to fight back to objections, to build that tough skin. And keep in mind, as I'm building that, there's pain in the back of my mind. I don't want to go back to this. And I'm starting to look towards pleasure as I'm starting to see money in my life. And the pleasure was financial freedom, the nice car, nice house, retiring my family, having money in the bank, etc. So built a tough skin from going face-to-face, bulletproof glass, taking no's, and after built a lot of leadership qualities from training up my sales guys, building relationships with them, checking up on them, helping them. As the owner or the vice president of this company, I would always, whenever there was a new driver, he would ride with me, I would take him and I would make a massive sales day and show him how it's done, then he would take over. Which is crazy because today, as a consultant, when I'm leading, I always tell leaders, grab the headset, lead from the front, show your salespeople you could sell, dust off the rust and get back into the sales game. But I would teach them, and I would give them a big sales day and then let them go. Anytime they needed help, I'd jump in, I'd call their clients. I was doing a lot of customer service, inventory handling, growth, social media, marketing, calling corporations, which is when I started doing like email sales and text sales and voicemail sales and calling 1-800 numbers to find the main buyer. And I would get the main buyer sometimes after a couple of weeks, starting with a 1-800 number on Google. All this stuff built that resilience towards sales. The thing about sales that I love the most is the hunt. I love hunting for the prey more than I love eating. And the hunt was always fun to me, and it still is fun to me. And as a great salesperson, you got to love the hunt. So anyways, building that business for 10 years. And then finally, I had a conversation with my brothers. The bigger we got, the more expenses we had. We were trying different product lines. We started expanding. It went from cell phone chargers to like vapes and sunglasses and face masks. And we started getting all these products, and some of the products would sell, some of them would not sell at all. So we'd be stuck with a bunch of inventory. As we grew, then there would be theft from drivers, and like it was hard to keep track as we were growing so big. So a lot of issues were happening in that business. And it wasn't that I couldn't deal with the issues. It was just that, I had a conversation with my brothers. I wanted to make a certain amount in that company. My brother told me it wasn't possible to make that amount in the company. The bigger we grew, the more overhead we would have. So, we decided to sell the business, and we sold the business. And when we sold it, I kind of had regrets, saying like I should have made more money. I wasted 10 years. Could I have done anything else? But after selling it, I found so much success in the mortgage industry, knowing nothing about mortgages, that I no longer had a regret for the accessory business. And I always tell people that don't have any regrets in your life, because every single tunnel that you're in leads you to be the man or the woman in the next tunnel in your life. Therefore, without that tunnel, you couldn't make it to the tunnel you're currently in now. And that was a great lesson for me, that experience in the accessory business made me a monster salesperson on the phone, because I was conditioned differently. And I didn't have any regrets for it. Before jumping to the mortgage industry, I made a quick pit stop with light up t-shirts and hats. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. I wanted to do like sports logos and Disney logos and Avengers themes. And I started opening up pop-ups in malls and stores across Michigan to see if it'll work. And it was working when I was there, but when I wasn't there, it wasn't working, because the salespeople were not selling it as passionately with me. Even though I added commission to every single item sold, it was just turning into a headache. So I lost about $40,000 in that business, learning that if I have to work my ass off to have a great sales day, you can't depend on anybody else to do the same exact thing as me, not even 50% of me. So any other business I'd open, I'd say, look, I need people that could do 30 to 40% of what I do, and it's successful. That's like a rule that I'll build. Or I'll just work on building great people. At the time, I didn't know how to build great people. Or apparently I didn't spend enough time with them to build them to great people. So anyways, I go to Quicken Loans, which is now Rocket Mortgage, not knowing anything about mortgages. The way their process was set up was genius. You had to go through like Blueprint, where you were like a telemarketer, where you'd only transfer calls and take the first 10 seconds. And then you'd have to do that 300-400 times a day, and then you pass it to a banker. So it's kind of building that urgency in you, like, man, I can't wait to be a banker. I can't wait to take these calls. Then they would have the most successful people come speak to us about what they were doing and show us the watches and the houses and the cars, what they were building. The resources were endless. I mean, slushies, check mix, awards, contests, trips. I mean, their culture was amazing. And coming from a place where I always had to provide resources for my business, I just appreciated the fact that they had all these resources. And looking around, nobody was taking advantage of the resources. People were like kind of spoiled, feeling a little comfy. So I came in there and took advantage of everything. My first month had about 25 closed, 30 closed, 40 closed, 50, stayed in the 50s and 60s for about 14 months straight. Top salesperson for 14 months straight, hence the awards behind me. Then went into leadership, which I didn't want to go into leadership, but I kind of got the tap on the shoulder and said it's time to be a leader, because I had so much stress from the last company that I'm like, let me just run by myself and have no stress. But I went into a leadership role, and as a leader, I built a great culture. And my team's name was the Takers, and everybody wanted to be a part of the team, because I built a reputation of taking a bottom banker and taking them to the top. And I kept doing this over and over and over again. And people told me that they really appreciated the way I taught something. You see, I was the kind of leader that would teach you something, get on the phone with you and do it, make you a script that's comfortable for you to do it, hold you accountable to it, and make sure that you grow. Like before I was even a leader, I had this binder that I made to prepare for my leadership, and I had every single teammate's picture inside, and I would literally meet with them, have their goals in there, their scripts in there, their one-on-ones in there. Like no other leader was doing anything like this, you know? And it was something I was doing, and I was passionate about it, and I created this army of great salespeople. Every single day I'd come in and I'd do something new for them, and I'd inspire them a different way, and I'd create a different game, and I'd create a different contest, you know? All the way from the parties, I was a great entertainer, and I believe as a great salesperson and a great leader, you got to be a great entertainer too. Some people navigate towards Trump like because he's a little bit entertaining, you know? And sometimes you got to be an entertaining person. When we say being a great leader is like being a great DJ. How do you keep the vibe lit? And that was something I was really good at. So I became, a leader and then a senior leader. Then I started onboarding new salespeople, started onboarding new leaders, even creating prepackaged huddles. My huddles were so good, I started prepackaging them and giving them to all the leaders across the board so everybody could run great meetings. And that's where a lot of the consulting and leading and training started coming into play for me, where I knew that I was doing something special and I knew that I could duplicate it. So I started duplicating it for salespeople and duplicating it for leaders to do the same thing from a leadership standpoint and build a great culture from the leadership standpoint. And I found my amazing partner at Quicken Loans, Marina, my wife, God bless her. One day my friend told me to grab him for lunch. He was on one of the top floors in the building. And I went to grab him and I seen this girl and I'm like, wow, it was kind of like love at first sight, which again, everything in life connects. I always think to myself, what if I didn't go grab him for lunch from that floor? What if I didn't go to lunch at all? What if he grabbed me? Would anything have happened in the future the same exact way, or would it have been different? Or maybe I wouldn't be married with kids with this woman right now. So just gratitude that every single second in your life plays a big role and everything in life connects. Anyway, seeing her was, kind of obsessed right from the get-go, looking her up online, walking around her floor, asking questions. I won some Tigers tickets in a contest, and it was 2 sweet Tiger tickets, Detroit Tigers, and I'm like, how could I do this? So I wrote it on a piece of paper. I got 2 Tiger tickets. Would you like to go with me? And then on a Friday on my way out, I just walked by her while she was on the phone selling her escrows on a mortgage. So cute. I put it in her hand, closed her hand, and walked away. Her face kind of got red. I left the building. I'm like, it, let's see what happens. Maybe she shafts me, maybe she doesn't. I'll find out on Monday. I got a weekend off. Genius play, right? So you don't want to get affected for the pain. You don't want to get affected at work. So you're like, let's do it on a Friday walking out so I could just have the weekend to forget about it in case she doesn't. Anyways, came back. She told me that, she had a boyfriend when she did it, which I respected because I like the chase and the hunt, as I said. First, I was upset. And then, I kind of started playing hard to get, where I kind of tried to disappear for a while, and I started working even harder because I wanted to impress her and show her that she messed up. And then eventually 6, 7, 8 months of not talking, she reached out through email, and then we started talking again. I'll never forget how happy I was when she reached out, and long beloved, we finally got together, and then we were inseparable. And she was great. I had a small mind when I first started with her. Like, we moved in our first house in Dearborn Heights, Michigan. I'm like, this is my dream house. This is it. I'll never move again. 1 year later, she pushes me to think bigger, gets me into this house that I'm in now, which I would never be in if it wasn't for her. It's so important to have a great partner by your side, because without a great partner, you could either be held back, stay stagnant, or be pushed forward. And I believe she continues to push me forward. She's my biggest motivation, my biggest accountability coach. She's wonderful, really. Like, we emptied out our 401k assets together to invest in this house. When I wanted to do the academy, she'll hold it down for me, go do the academy. So I had that support, which was super important, and that support stayed throughout the whole thing. And it's important to have somebody good to build with you as you go, because it's hard to do it alone. So, that was just a wonderful experience, and thank God I got her. Thank God I kept her, and thank God for the persistence. There was a lot of law of attraction in that. I swear I used to show her picture to my family and tell them this is going to be my wife before she was even my girl or even talk to me. I'd write her name down sometimes on a piece of paper. I would look her up sometimes just to see her picture, message her but delete it, message her but delete it. So there was so much thinking involved in that and affirming that she was going to be mine. And I think that played a factor in her reaching out to me and coming back. So I always tell people everything in life connects. It starts in your mind. What are you affirming? What are you thinking about? What are you asking asking the universe for. You got to ask to receive. Yeah, very blessed for that one. So there was 2 moments that changed my life when it comes to motivation. The first moment was back in the accessory business before I sold. Our partners in Miami gave me a USB for Tony Robbins, said, listen to this, it'll change your life. It was a breakthrough USB for Tony Robbins, one of his events. Anyways, I listened to it for like 3 days. I couldn't stop listening to it. And that's where I really got addicted to motivation. So after that, I started like writing down goals, writing down gratitude. I started getting into meditating. I started listening to a lot of positive audios and podcasts. So like that was the first thing that got me into motivation. The second thing was like my wife, Marina, giving me The Secret book. And then I read the book and I would start reading more books like Think and Grow Rich, but I'd read the books and I'd forget what I read from the books. So, me and her came up with an idea like, why don't you summarize these books in 10 takeaways? And I started a YouTube channel called Acez Top 10 Takeaways, where I'd summarize the book in a video in 10 minutes, 10 takeaways. So that way, instead of you reading the book, or so you don't forget the book, you get to remember that. So she helped me through that vision on YouTube. She also told me like one time, she's like, I don't know what it is about this binder, but I feel like in the future, you're going to be doing something with this binder. And it's crazy because I'm like consulting people now, teaching them how to be leaders and run a great culture through their own version of these binders. My virtual binder online, which is my course. But she also, affirmed that to me prior to me blowing up with the academy. So anyways, we're doing top 10 takeaways on YouTube. Then I started doing podcasts on YouTube. Then I started just doing like motivational things like your resources are your weapon, just like screaming with music in the background, doing motivational priming videos. And like throughout all these tunnels, remember, there wasn't a lot of engagement or views, and like that didn't stop me. I just kept going because through these tunnels, I was learning, I was developing. It was helping me grow. So that's all I focused on. I didn't focus on the people or anybody else, which is important because a lot of people out there will focus on judgment and what other people think. And I'll tell you, throughout my whole life, I didn't focus on that. From giving out flyers at parties, from the gas station, to selling fireworks, to going gas station to get, I didn't care about judgment. All I cared about, there was pain from the back. I never wanted to face the pain again. I wanted to get to the pleasure. I knew I was built for something else. And that's when this started, the whole YouTube thing. And I'm still leading at Rocket Mortgage. At this point, I kind of go back to being a salesperson. I'm like, all right, I'm good with leadership. I tried to grow there and I tried to meet with the executives and say, I want to do consulting, because I was starting to get into the consulting and motivational speaking. And, they gave me experiments with it, but they couldn't really give me a full throttle the way I wanted it. So one day I got a call from another business, which was a broker shop. They asked me to come out there and help them. I'm like, I never really went to another broker shop to help, but let me try. I go there and I double their sales, teaching them the sales fundamentals, scripting, introduction, relationship, presentation, objections, helping the leadership with contests and morning huddles and trainings and game films, and doing the same kind of thing I did in the accessory business and in the mortgage business, but now taking that to a universal scale to any business and kind of making their own form of it for them. So that's when the whole journey started for consulting. And I'm like, I really have something here. So at the time, as I'm consulting this shop, I get a referral to go to another shop and a referral to go to another shop. I start looking for like a great sales book and a sales planner and a leadership book and a leadership planner to start giving to people as I go. And I couldn't really find something that was good. So I said, let me create this. So I went back to start thinking, what is all the things I've done as a great salesperson to be successful? I came up with 10 keys and created the book, The 10 Keys of Sales. Then I said, as a great salesperson, what did I do day to day to have great days, great weeks, and great months? Wrote it all out and created a sales planner that has everything inside of it. Did the same exact thing for leadership. What are the 8, 9, 10 things I did to create a great culture and really build fun and accountability and relationships and production and revenue? Made the 10 keys of leadership. What did I do on a day-to-day basis, week-to-week basis, month-to-month basis to really blow up that culture and the leadership role? And I made a leadership planner. And then I got a phone call from Brad Lee in Vegas and his team. And they're like, hey, we heard you're trying to make a course. And at the time I was making a course on Thinkific. And I'm like, let me make this book into a course so people that could see it virtually. So I was trying to make a course, a book, and a planner. And then he talked me into going to Lightspeed, which was a great move because Lightspeed's very interactive, their training, and there's accountability in it and automation, and they're using AI. And it's just a cool way to get trained. There's an app on the phone. They're always updating it. So I go to Brad Lee, shoot a podcast with him. We really pop it off. He loves my style, my consulting, and I even helped him out through the future. Just visiting him, giving him ideas. We connect a lot. He's a great mentor. So I create my whole sales course and a whole leadership course, virtual training on his platform. And I have the books and planners to go with them. And at this point, I'm like, perfect. I could build a network and a community of salespeople and leaders across the country, and I could support them, give them the guidance they need to really change their lives like I changed mine. At this point, I'm living in this house. I'm building a pool in the backyard. I'm buying investment properties. Like, I'm starting to really grow. My parents have been retired from the first month of mortgage banking, which was a huge accomplishment for me. So I'm starting to experience the pleasures throughout this journey, still thinking about the pain. Now I'm thinking about the impact and the purpose. Like, I want to change the whole world and impact salespeople and leaders across the board and help them change their lives and their families just like I changed mine. I want to be there to support them virtually. And I start building this virtual academy. And as I was building this virtual academy, keep in mind, I never did this before. I never made a book before. I kind of had to figure things out as I went. And I made mistakes and I fixed those mistakes. The first sales planner sucked, made a 2.0 version that was great. And again, I wasn't scared of judgment as I was making these things. I wasn't scared of failing as I was making these things. And I think that's super important for you listening. I think you have to be willing to fail every single second of the journey, because every failure is a learning opportunity to get you closer to that success. And that was my life over and over and over again as I was building. And keep in mind, I never had a lot of people to help me build. You know, like Bradley's a super busy guy. Like, I want to reach out to Tony Robbins, Patrick Bet-David. These are super busy guys. Do I pay $80,000 for a one-on-one with Patrick Bet-David? Like, I couldn't do that. So like, what did I have to do? My environment was super important. And when I tell you, like, for the last maybe 7 or 8 years now, in the car when I'm driving or in the gym when I'm working out, I'm not listening to music. I've been listening to podcasts and audiobooks for 7-8 years. And think about the compound interest on that and how much I've learned and all the decisions I've made from the listening I've done there. I created a miracle morning where in the morning I wake up at 5 a.m., meditate, gratitude, goals, sauna, ice bath, workout, read a chapter of a book, plan out my day, and then go. And like, that was like my fuel for the morning. And I would always try to network with people and go to shows and meet people that were trying to do the same thing I did or have already done the same thing I did, and keep like my network and my environment strong. And I tell you that because I think that's super important as you're trying to succeed in your life and your journey. Your environment could really hold you back. The things you listen to could hold you back. You have to fully prime your mind and what you want for it to happen. I think that's how I got with my wife. I think that's how this academy was built. I think the motivation that I was addicted to from the beginning turned into something else. Like, all these things were connecting. So now we have this great academy. We're going company to company, doubling and tripling their sales. Some of these companies have massive results, and I'm so happy I'm able to help them. Just creating unique custom plans, helping people with recruiting, with networking, made a social media package and a social media team, and I'm growing my team. And now I have a team of 10, 15 people, and we're training companies in Canada. We're worldwide international now. And we got companies all across the country we're training, and salespeople and leaders across the country. And it's really happening right now in front of my own eyes. And I feel so grateful for the fact that this is all manifested into this moment right here in front of you. Today, on my birthday, September 22nd, 2024, I'm talking to you on my birthday today. And I'm so happy that I'm able to talk to you here, and that you're even here listening, and that hopefully I impact you in a positive life in this video. Yeah, I'm here right now. My dreams are coming true, but like, what's the next point I want to get to now? Like, now I want worldwide stages, and I want to build an army of salespeople and leaders that I have their back throughout everything. If they need a new job, if they need training, if they want to build their own team, what are their dreams? Like, I just want to build an army of entrepreneurs making their dreams come true. I want to have seminars for leaders, seminars for salespeople, seminars for business planning, sell out arenas, and just create this massive impact across the globe. And that's where we're headed next. I want to be able to travel the world with my family, work virtually and support people virtually through my academy that need me. And we're on the path there right now. And I want to continue to enjoy the moment and enjoy the process as I go. So I think there was like so many takeaways from my life, knowing your pains and pleasures and helping them drive you, keeping your environment and surroundings around you fully primed in what you want, being relentless and going all in, staying consistent and not fearing any judgment. Like, those are things I think about when I think about my life and what kept me moving forward. Obviously, it's not everything, but hopefully it gives you a better understanding of me, my life, and what's impacted me and how I got to this point in my life. I hope this video helps push you to find your motivation, your why, your purpose to keep going. And look, if you need anything from me along your journey, please don't hesitate to reach out. Everything I do is for you. Can't forget about my boy Eli. Thank you so much for driving me to take over the world every single day just from looking in your eyes. I love you, kid. You'll never know how much I love you until you have a boy just like I had you. God bless you, kid, and thank you for keeping me going. Thank you guys so much for being on the video. I truly appreciate it, and have a blessed rest of your day. It's Acez.